Good evening to each and every one of you. Yesterday's date is Tuesday, the very first day of the third month of March 2022. This is a special recording from me from London. My name is Frank Bello and I am your host that will be making this recording on the special legacy of one of the greatest legend that ever walked the surface of this planet, and especially in Odua land and Nigeria as a whole. You're welcome. Today is all about a special discussion on the late sage, the late Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ. And from this platform, we want to pay a special tribute to him, his legacies, and his army of disciples that are scattered across the whole world. Now, as Yorùbás, those who are direct descendants of Odùduwà and those of us in my generation, and perhaps 2 or 3 generations below me, who lived in that era and are still alive today. Our parents' relationship with Baba Awolowo was a romantic experience, never to be forgotten as history in Yorùbá land dictates. Apart from the free education at the time, to which many of my generation and those a little bit above myself were all beneficiaries, there was the emergence of cooperative societies and farm settlements. Make no mistakes. Students at the time in history preferred the scholarship of Western Nigeria to that of the federal government. It is a fact. Chief Obafemi Jeremiah Oyeniyi Awolowo, GCFR, died 35 years ago, 6th of May, 2022, today, but his legacy still lives on. 35 years as we celebrate his legacy. Great writers and scholars in Nigeria have written so much about Chief Obafemi Awolowo after his demise, before and after. And I can recollect and I can name some of those few that I know. Chief Tola Adeniyi, one of them. Odia Ofeumom, our famous and respected Dr. Reuben Abati. Ayo Okpadokun, Dare Babarisa, famous from Tel. Chief Ayo Ojeunmi, Lade Bonuola, Shola Odunfa, Bolabo Ogunsanwo, Femi Ogunsanwo as well, Banji Ogundele, Bayo Oshiyemi, Peter Ajayi, Dayo Shobawale. These are notable names. Others that I can still recollect include Felix Adedakbo Adenaike, Martins Oloja, Adegbamigbe Akinlaya, Wumi Adegbomire alias Ọmọ Ẹkùn, Agboola Sonny, Nduka Onom, Peter Akpesin, Fola Oredoyin, the late Alhaji Lateef Kayode Jakande, Alfred Ilenre Toye Akínọdé, Muyiwa Adetiba, Rotimi Abe, Dr. Wumi Akintade, Labanji Bolaji, Chief Segun Oshoba is also one of those. Lawrence Mofoluwasoun Olamiti, Areoye Oyebola, the late former governor of Oyo State, Lam Adesina, Biodun Oduwole, Banji Koroloja, Ebenezer Babatokpe, and lots more. If Awo is alive today, the greatest legend, Obafemi Awolọwọ, will be celebrating his 113th birthday on earth. No question. Awo was a Nigerian nationalist and a statesman who played a key role in 1. Nigeria's independence and its movement. 2. The First and the Second Republic. And 3. The most notorious Nigerian Civil War. The son of a Yoruba farmer, Awo was one of the truly self-made men of repute among his contemporaries in Nigeria. And I'll prove that to you. As a young lad, he was an active journalist, editing publications such as the Nigerian Worker, on top of many other publications. After receiving an honors degree in BCom, Bachelor of Commerce in Nigeria, Awo proceeded straight to England to pursue a degree in law. Born Saturday, 6th March 1909 in Remo district of Ikenne, Southern Nigeria Protectorate, in what is present-day Ogun State, Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ was the only son of David Shokbaolu Awolowo, a farmer and a sawyer, and Mary Efunyela Awolowo of blessed memory. Sunday, 6th March 2022. It is a great fun fún Gbogbo Ọmọ karọ-ojire àgbáyé to celebrate a posthumous 113th birthday to this great legend and Moses of our time in Yoruba land. The Nigerian Tribune, founded over 70 years ago by the late sage as part of the Odua group of investment companies, published 9th May 2018, made it public. Chief Awolowo served, to which you and I know, as the premier of the Western region from 1952 to 1959. 52 to 59. 7 years in total. Underscore. Awo always the first in everything. I repeat, underscore. Awo is always the first in everything. He was responsible for much of the progressive social legislation that has made Nigeria a modern nation. He was the first leader of government business and minister of local government and finance, and the first premier of the Western region under Nigeria's parliamentary system of government from 1952 to 1959. As premier, Awol had remarkable success during his tenure. The visionary and economically sagacious Awolowo-led government had numerous achievements. What are those achievements? They include the implementation of first, free and compulsory primary education. 2, the establishment of Africa's first TV station in Ibadan. I indulge you to underscore the word first. 3, the construction of West Africa's first skyscraper, the Cocoa House in Ibadan. And 4, the first international stadium, the Liberty Stadium, also built in Ibadan. His other achievements, that is, the achievements apart from those that were outlined by this great legend in 7 years whilst in office as premier, include 5, the establishment of a first-class civil service, perhaps the second best, according to my investigation, in the Commonwealth realms, that is the 56th Commonwealth nation. And 6, the construction of Nigeria's first housing and industrial estates in Bodija, in Ibadan, and Ikeja, in Lagos. The most significant of Awolowo's achievements was the free universal primary education across the nooks and crannies of the Yorùbá land. It is on record. It is on record, I repeat, that in 1952, when the scheme was proposed by his administration, 381,000 children, about 30%, according to statistics, were enrolled in school. By 1955, 3 years after the introduction of the scheme, 811,432 children were enrolled. The numbers continued to grow, and as it grows, the government of the Western region devoted as much as, check this out, 41.2% of its recurrent budget at the time in 1958-1959 to education. As opposed to the gigantic educational budget to get the Western region educated by all means with no oil, petrodollar money, but simply cocoa money today, the allocation at the national education sector by the Nigerian government in the 2021 budget shows an allocation as low as 771.5 billion naira. This is inclusive of the UBEC, Universal Basic Education allocation, out of a total budget size of 13.58 trillion naira. Now, here is the catch. What was Awolowo thinking about to spend such a ludicrous amount of money to educate the Yorùbás in Western region at the time? Now, here is the catch. This means that the educational sector in modern day Nigeria got a penury of 5.68% allocation as opposed to the 41.2% of its 1958-59 recurring budget 62 years ago in 1959 by the late Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ. This can only be achieved under a visionary leader who simply wants the very best and the finest for the Western region. Through what? Education, education, education. Rewind. In 2018, Nigeria counted 22.4 million children enrolled in public elementary schools and 5.5 million in private schools. This makes a total of 27.9 million children in primary school in Nigeria in 2018. Now, fast forward. Recent data show that the gross enrollment rate in primary schools in Nigeria today stood at 68.3%, and Northwest registered the highest figure. By any means, in whatever standard or circumstances, the 41.2% Awolowo's administration spent in 1958-59 on recurring budgets to education in Western Nigeria was one of the highest in the world at the time. Awo, the greatest legend of all time, was educating more and more children than anywhere else in Africa. No doubt. Awolowo was Nigeria's foremost federalist. His Path to Nigerian Freedom, published in 1947, heralded the first systematic federalist manifesto by a Nigerian politician. In the manifesto, he advocated for a true federalism as the only basis for equitable national integration, and as head of the action group in the West at the time, he led demands for a federal constitution, which was introduced in the 1954 Littleton Constitution, following primarily the model proposed by the Western region delegation led by him. From the eve of independence, he led the action group as the leader of the opposition in the federal parliament, leaving Chief Samuel Ladoke Akintola as the Western region premier. Now, obviously, humans will always be humans. We're not perfect. Disagreements between Chief Awolowo and Chief Akintola on how to run the Western region led the Akintola to an alliance with the Tafawa Balewa-led Northern People's Congress NPC federal government, and Ahmadu Bello as premier of the Northern region. The crack then was set in between these two Omoluabi giants. As a consequence, a constitutional crisis led to the declaration of a state of emergency in the Western region, resulting in a widespread breakdown of law and order. Excluded from national government, Awo and the action group faced an increasingly a very difficult position. Akintola's followers, angered at their exclusion from power, formed a new party, the Nigerian National Democratic Party, NNDP, and Akintola as leader. Having suspended the previously elected Western Regional Assembly, obviously, with the then Governor General of Western Region at the time, the federal government under Tafawa Balewa then reconstituted the body after maneuvers that brought Chief S.L. Akintola's NNDP into power without an election. Now you are beginning to see how the North cracked up the Western region. Shortly afterwards, Chief Awolọwọ and several other disciples, such as Chief Ayo Adebanjo from the Afeniferes, were arrested, charged, convicted of treason, and jailed for conspiring with the Ghanaian authorities under Balewa to overthrow the federal government. However, his sentence 59 years ago, 11th September 1963, I will quote, "In my march through prison," Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ said, and I quote, "I must say, and this may have to be taken up with a higher tribunal, that I do not agree with your lordship's verdict and the premises on which it is based. For upwards of 30 years, I have been in politics in Nigeria. During this period, I have operated in various important theaters in the life of this great federation. I have, with others, fought against British imperialism with all my might and with all the talents that it pleased God to give me," unquote. Gloomy predictions were made about his criminal convictions on the floors of the Federal High Court in Lagos, with Justice George Shodende Sowemimo presiding over the case. Justice Shodende Sowemimo's 90-page of 1963 judgment also contained the famous quote by him, "My hands are tied." My hands are tied. Now, this tribute is incomplete without his wife, Chief Mrs. Anna Idowu Dideolu Awolowo ni Adelano. Mama HID married Obafemi Awolowo Sunday, the 26th day of December 1937. As couple, these two were inseparable. They were glued together until Awo's death 35 years ago in 1987. During his lifetime, Awo usually famously referred to Mama HID as his jewel of inestimable value. between Chief Awolọwọ and Mama HID. They both had, in chronological order, 1. The late barrister Olusegun Awolowo, who was meant to defend his father during the treasonable felony at the Lagos High Court, but was involved in a ghastly accident on his way to the court. 2. The late Reverend Mrs. Omotola Oyediran ni Awolowo. 3. The late Chief Oluwole Awolowo. 4. The late Mrs. Ayodele Olubusola Soyode ni Awolowo. And 5. Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary, Chief Dr. Mrs. Olatokunbo Awolowo Dosunmu. Now, let's go into Awo's legacy, reasons why we want to celebrate this iconic Yorùbá figure this coming Sunday, the 6th day of March, 2022. In 1992, the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation was founded as an independent, non-profit, non-partisan organization committed to furthering the symbiotic interaction of public policy and relevant scholarship with a view to promoting the overall development of the Nigerian nation. Make no mistakes, not just Oodua land, overall development of the Nigerian nation. This foundation currently is overseen by Ambassador Chief Dr. Mrs. Tokunbo Awolowo Dosunmu, a woman with a very humble background, a woman who should be celebrated as well by all those who believe in dealing with personalities who make history and who also ensure society benefits from the history they are making. Awo died peacefully at his Ikene home, the Efunyala Hall, named after his mother, Saturday, 9th of May, 1987, at the age of 78, and was laid to rest in Ikene amid tributes across political and ethno-religious divide. I said mysterious Awo. Why is Awo mysterious? Awo was born Saturday, 6th of March, 1909. Collapse those date. You get 1918. Collapse that further. You get 1. I'll show you in the second part. Born 6th day of the week of the 3rd month. Died Saturday, 9th of May, 1987. Collapse those date. You get 2001. Collapse that further. You get 3. Now, he died 9th day of the week of the 6th month. Aged 78 years. 7 plus 8 equals 15. 1 plus 5 equals 6. Mysterious Awo. What can you say from those code in front of you? Well, as for me, I see an entry code of 1 as Awo's passage to this plane of existence, and 369 as signatures of compassion, humanitarianism, creative self-expression, inspiration, family, and idealism. I see a very powerful, significant spiritual energy, aside from the fact that Awo's passage to this world is a life part 1 in coded form. This life part 1 as a code is Om. O-M. Om. The primordial sound of creation. It is the original vibration of the universe. From this first vibration. All other vibrations are able to manifest. More on that later, not for this topic. Now, on the spot with Eric Teniola, Vanguard newspaper, he wrote, but while remembering Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ, we must not forget that he led a formidable team. Very understanding sets of people served under him or were around him. The majority of these outstanding individuals are with angels. We must remember Chief Akinola Maja, Chief Eso Gbadamosi, Chief Bisi Onabanjo, Alhaji Lateef Jakonde, Chief Alfred Rewan, Chief S.O. Lanleyin, Chief Dosumu, Chief Michael Ajashin, Chief Fadairo, Chief Adegbite Tinubu, Chief Bola Ige, Chief Adeleke Adedoyin, Chief S.T. Oredeyin, Chief S.O. Shonibare, Chief J.S. Olawoyin, Chief Longe, Professor Sam Aluko, Professor Akin Mabogunje, Chief Babalola, Chief Taiwo Oredeyin, Professor Ezekiel Oluwasanmi, Dr. Sonya Onobamiro, Chief S.O. Adigun, Chief Michael Omishade, Chief Honorable C.D. Akran, Chief J.S. Olawoyin, Oba Alailiwasa Adesoji Aderemi, the Honorable A.O. Adeyi, late Sir Adeyemo Alakija, Alhaji Honorable D.S. Adegbenro, Chief A.O. Ogedengbe. The others are Chief M.E.R. Okorodudu, Chief Honorable Gabriel Akindeko, Oba Alailua Akenzwa II, the Honorable Ayodele Okushaga, Chief Anthony Enahoro, Chief J.S. Odunjo, Chief Honorable J.O. Oshuntokun, Chief A.M.A. Akinloye, that was Adisa Akinloye, Oba Alailua Samuel Ademola, Chief Dr. J. Akoni Dohati, Chief F.O. Awoshika, E.A. Babalola, S.O. Awokoya, S.O. Igodaro Esquire, Chief Honorable Jonathan Akiremi Olawale Odebi, Chief F.R.A. Williams, Chief Bode Thomas, Sir Olateru Olagbegi, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, Canon Emmanuel Alayode, S.O. Ikoku, Dr. E.O. Awuluchi, Alhaji Sule Maito, and others. In later years, Professor Ambrose Ali, Chief Cornelius Adebayo, Chief Aderibigbe Adesoya, Chief Ruben Fashionati, Chief Olaniun Ajayi, and others came close to him. Like modern day Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and ruler of Dubai, is a major source of inspiration for the development of Dubai. So also was the late Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ to us in Western Nigeria at the time. Considering his life path, as I have no doubt, Chief Obafemi Awolọwọ had the necessary qualities of leadership required to run a vibrant and exciting country. He had clear vision, courage, integrity, humility, focus, cooperation, and excellent at strategic planning. He had the courage and was willing to take risk in achieving his goals and success. Truthfulness. Despite the fact I was looking at him from a distance, dwell in this enigma, which is the cornerstone of integrity. Integrity, on the other hand, requires you to always tell the truth to people, to all people, at all time, in every situation and in all circumstances. Truthfulness is the foundation of the trust that is necessary for the success of any business or society. Above all, he had focus and he relied mostly on the advice of his friends. He was future-oriented, which is lacking in most of our political leaders of today, who laced themselves with unprecedented wave of monumental corruption. Funds meant for education, health, and infrastructural development has been hijacked and then diverted into their individual pockets Today, what we see are reckless politicians with bullion vans as cash dispensers. In his time, Awo took personal responsibility in all that he did. Neither did he apportion blame on his subordinates. He tried new inventions, and it worked. It worked for the Western region that he presided over. On his birthday, this Sunday, the 6th day of March 2022, Obafemi Awolọwọ Foundation will host via Zoom link a lecture titled Values for Africa's Development at 5 p.m. UK time and 6 p.m. Odua land. It will be live streamed on few platforms. Speakers include former Ghanaian President John Mahama and General Yakubu Gowon as guests. And you know why General Yakubu Gowon was there, because the late sage served as the Federal Commissioner for Finance under his administration as a military junta and his deputy at the time. Don't forget as well, it was Gowon that released the late sage from the prison. Fellows, please join every Yoruba sons and daughters to raise a big, hearty 113 heavy bosas to Odua legend and Yoruba icon in heaven. And until that time, we hope to see you on Sunday at this Zoom meeting. Thank you for watching this clip. Distribute and share it. Have a great day. God bless you all. Goodbye.